Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today for the next edition of Music Biz's Common Ground webinar series. My name is Henrik Bick. I'm here from the Music Biz Communications team to welcome you to today's session. And before we get things started off, I just have a couple of housekeeping notes to run by you. Most importantly, will pertain to today's session. If you'd like to network with one another, be sure to change the settings in your webinar chat to everyone. Permissions are open now, so you should be able to switch to chatting and communicating with everybody. And we will be taking a brief Q&A at the end of the webinar today. If you have any questions for today's presenter, do drop them in the Q&A box on our Zoom dashboard, so that way we can answer them at the end of the webinar. Outside of the webinar series, very quickly, just want to mention a few Music Biz 2023 related notes. Yesterday, in case you missed it, we announced the first award that'll be given out at our second annual Busy Awards ceremony on Wednesday, May 17th. Gina Miller of Monarch Music Group and Nashville Music Equality will receive our 2023 Presidential Award. We couldn't be happier with the fact that she's being recognized for her years of tireless work, making our industry a better place to work. Be sure to look out for more announcements like this coming later this month, including all of the finalists for our Busy Awards that were the nominations were crowdsourced earlier this year, our slate of keynotes that'll be announced shortly, and more. You can find the information on Gina's award, as well as other Music Biz related items a couple of places, both on our homepage on our website, musicbiz.org, on our dedicated event website, musicbiz2023.com, as well as all our social channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, at musicbizassoc across all of those. When you visit musicbiz2023.com, be sure to check out all the important stuff that's coming up. We have our look at our schedule, which is being updated with final details as we speak. We also have registration for the event, as well as hotel booking. We're at 3/4 full in our room block at the JW Marriott Nashville. So be sure to book your room if you plan on doing so sooner rather than later, because we are coming up at the end of that block. Finally, back into the webinars realm, we'll have our next webinar a week from today on the 16th at 2 p.m. hosted by Vivo. We'll be talking about future applications for the music video format and how everything, as cycles go, everything old is new again, and the music video is seeing new life and helping artists to bolster their careers. So yeah, check that out next week with Vivo. Again, it's another free Music Wiz webinar that you can register to attend. You'll find info on that in the coming days on our socials, as well as our website, musicbiz.org. Again, thank you all for being here today, and let's go back to today's session. Thrilled to welcome Andy Irvine. He's the CEO of Distro Direct, and he's going to be talking about A&R incubators today. Andy, great to have you, and please take it away.
Thank you, Henrik. Nice to be here, everyone. I flew in from Australia yesterday, and it's great to be here. Henrik, are you able to put my video on?
Happening now.
There we go. Excellent. Thanks, guys. Yeah, like I said, really great to be here. Super excited to be in LA and in Austin next week. Today's webinar I'm presenting on behalf of my company, Distro Direct, is how to create a scalable A&R incubator inside your label using our Distro Direct software. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through a couple of slides. I'm going to take you through a bit of a product demo of our platform, and then answer any questions at the end. So let me go ahead and begin the screen share. All right, I'm hoping you can all see that. Right, so firstly, just a couple of things. How to create a scalable A&R incubator inside your label using premium white label micro distribution, as we call it. So just a really quick disclaimer before we roll into things. I'm not going to here to try to convince you to change your distributor. What we are going to discuss is ways that we can supplement your current label business or release activity in addition to what you're currently doing. So just a little bit of background on myself and Distro Direct. I've been doing digital distribution since around 2006. I worked for Universal Music in London for a number of years. In the release and digital distribution department, I headed up production for Universal in Sydney for a number of years. I've worked for other large independent labels in Australia. And then in 2018, my partners and I launched a company called GyroStream, which stands for Get Your Record Out, which is a retail distributor based in Australia and New Zealand. And then we launched DistroDirect as a offshoot of our GyroStream product in 2021. And we currently have a couple of people based here in the US, including Dalmar James, who's based out of Baltimore, who's on the call today, and also Michelle Amar, who's based in New York City. And so we'll be able to provide some contact details for all of these people as we get to the end of the webinar. But there's a fair bit of stuff to get through, so I'm going to keep cracking on. So initially, like I said, a couple of slides and then we'll jump into a bit of a demo. But in terms of starting an A&R incubator, and really why should labels work with more indie artists? Because I'm sure you all have plenty of things enough on your plate as it is. So there's a couple of reasons why, we believe that this really is the future of distribution. And one of them is to scale your artist network. So when it comes to scalability, what we're trying to do is offer flexible deal terms to new and emerging artists without the additional risk of full management or label deals. And really, it's about building community of like-minded artists by leveraging your label and brand, which that already has a lot of great reputation and respect in the market, and to be able to de-risk your investments and upstream those successes into future label and management deals. Secondly, to get more data. So, getting the streaming and demographic analytics from more artists to inform your decisions and to know what marketing efforts are having an impact across a much broader catalog. And the obvious one is clearly just to generate more revenue and to build a more sustainable business with additional royalty income. And monetizing your free advice is something we say a lot. So obviously, you all have plenty of access to artists. You're talking with artists all the time. And so really, it's using distribution as a base product to offer expanded services, whether that's, PR, radio, publishing, all the other things that can come on top of being able to, introduce artists to a distribution service. And then on the other flip side of that, the benefits that the artists get. So obviously brand and identity. Artists want to be associated with companies that have shared visions who they can relate to. Many modern distributors have had no choice but to become, essentially data factories to support the huge amount of content that's being delivered daily. And artists receive advice and assistance from music businesses they trust, which can drive better streaming outcomes. And really, that's the core of what we're trying to do at DistroDirect, is to drive better streaming outcomes for the artists. And that's done by building relationships and communities and being able to have artists work directly with labels, studios, producers, management companies, and any other music business that have access to artists. Really does drive better outcomes when the artist feels like they've got an invested relationship there. Sounds great, but that's all too much admin. Obviously, distribution is a very resource and intensive exercise. And that's really where we're going to jump into the demo now and go through some of the tools that DistroDirect can do that allows you to drive that scalability through the product. So firstly, we're going to talk about asset management and how allowing artists to actually control that part of the distribution journey within your platform. Secondly, royalties and direct payments to artists. So no more statements or having to run bulk payments or anything like that, which our platform takes care of. And then finally, the customer support, which is direct to artists and really is the biggest challenge when it comes to running any sort of type of distribution, is the amount of customer service that's involved in doing that. And I'll explain how we handle that process with your artists under your brand. And it's something we call full turnkey. So, basically you can plug this in. We do all the admin and do all the work. And really, it's the job of the label or the music business to provide that networking, relationship building advice, but all the back-end admin stuff is handled by our system. So I'm going to start by jumping into our front end of our system. So there's really two parts to go through when it comes to looking at building an A&R incubator using DistroDirect. Firstly is the artist side, which will go through the artist dashboard. And then secondly, the admin side, where you as the business control and manage the store and the content that's coming through. So here we have a demo website. It's a demo studio. It doesn't actually exist. But you can imagine this being any sort of website, whether it's a label, studio, production house, management company, and essentially any other music business that has good access to artists that essentially leveraging the brand here. So when you start a distro direct distribution store, there's a couple of ways that you can integrate the platform into your existing site. Firstly, we provide a simple landing page that you can customize with your own logo, images, text, colors, etc. And I've got an example over here of someone who's done another design whereby you can have an artist register for an account with your service and that they can also log into their account. Really simple, easy, gets you up and running in half an hour or less. The second option, which is a lot nicer, is that you create your site and your page just like the other pages on your website, and you can embed the registration widget directly into that page, and you can embed the login widget directly into that page as well. Another example of that is a page that we run here on an instrumental site. It's a Squarespace website. If I click register and log in, I'll go to another Squarespace page where the registration box and login box is embedded. Now, obviously, this is provided that you would want anyone registering for an account. Most of the labels we work with would be curating the artists that come through so that they wouldn't actually have the registration box public. They may either have that on a private link, or they may actually register the accounts through their admin system. And then simply they would just have a login box on their website where their customers can come and log in and upload their tracks and pay themselves and do their distribution that way. So they control the funnel of the artists that come through. So that's completely doable as well. So once the artists have created an account and they log in, they're going to come to their artist dashboard, which you see here. Now, again, this dashboard is customizable in terms of background image, colors, tile colors, logo. So you can really make it look the way that you want. And we can jump in here and have a look at this one here as well. So with the Sue Sounds logo, different colors, different background images, all that sort of stuff. And essentially, this is where the artist is going to control that distribution journey. Now, I'll preface that by saying, as the label, you have complete control and access to all of these accounts, so you can still do all the work yourself if you want to. But the whole idea about being full turnkey that we discussed before is that you're giving, these entry-level artists or these A&R artists that you want to bring through your platform, you're getting them in as under their brand, but they're essentially still doing the majority of the work, but they're being associated with your brand through that journey, and you're providing that advice to them to get some of the best streaming outcomes. But here, in terms of the demo account, so the artist, every artist will have access to their own account where they can control this. So coming in here, they can create a new release, and we have a very simple 3-page upload process where they would, most of you would be familiar with in terms of adding their release date, artist title, genres, adding a UPC code, label lines, uploading their artwork, selecting the stores that they would like to deliver their tracks to, and also their country availability in terms of being able to do carve outs. If you do have certain label deals in certain territories, for example, you could deselect North America, and you could use this to facilitate distribution to all the other countries around the world. Once that's saved, it's going to go into their catalog page where they have access at all times. And I can come in here. If it's an incomplete release, I can continue editing this product, and I'll jump through to the second page of the track upload where the album has been uploaded. I can reorder tracks if I have to. I can upload or edit my files. I can add more files to it. We have a whole list of credits they can add. You can add their TikTok start time. We can automatically assign an ISRC code, or they can add their own ISRC code in the platform if they need to, if they're transferring from another distributor. And once you're happy with the track list, you would go through and submit the album for distribution. Map the Spotify and Apple profiles for all the artists on the release, opt into Content ID, and then submit the album for distribution. If we go back to my catalog page, and we look at, say, some delivered releases, I might jump into this one. All the information for the artist is going to be available at all times. They're going to have access to their catalog at all times, be able to see their UPC codes, their deliveries. They're going to have access to download their audio files, all of their ISRC codes. They can play their audio files, and they can actually edit a release after it's been delivered. So if they do need to replace any audio, replace any images, they have the ability to do that through the platform as well. We have a customizable share link where they have the ability to, under your brand, share a link to third parties rather than having to do the whole download, re-upload to SoundCloud. Your logo stays on the top of that. And then we'll talk about split payments in a second. So that's the first two modules, create, release, and catalog page. Once that's been done, we have a payment splitting module where the artists have the ability to split specific tracks royalties, so they can come in and set those up, create and edit a split. So they might want to give various different percentages of a track to collaborators, whether that's producers, other band members, managers, etc. Those people receive an invite to the platform to come and collect those splits, and they'll be automatically attributed to their account when the royalties get uploaded every month. Artists have access to streaming analytics. And again, this is currently being upgraded, but you'll see in the back end that we now offer much more than just Spotify and Apple Music. So this is being launched in the artist side in the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, this account doesn't do amazing for streaming, but the artist will have access to all the different tracks and artists that are within that account. From a day-by-day stream, streams by country, skip rates. There's some demographic information that they've got in there as well. And this is in the process of being completely upgraded over the next couple of weeks. And then finally, the thing that saves one of the most amount of time is our royalties and payments module. So if I come in here and have a look at that, we facilitate the payments directly to the accounts. The available balance will be in the currency of the account holder. So if they're a US-based client, they'll see their balance in USD, or if they're in the UK, they'll see it in pounds. All the artist needs to do is click the withdraw money button, and we'll facilitate that payment direct to their bank account within 24 hours. And so there's no more running of statements or having to facilitate bulk payments or anything like that. We do everything for you. The artist has a full royalties dashboard, so they can see exactly how much they're earning and where that money's coming from, month on month, across their tracks, whether that's streaming, track downloads, or album downloads, the various artists in their account and where that money is coming from, a country breakdown of all their royalties, the different stores where that money is coming from, and stores by track as well. Collaborations they may have shared to other account holders or received from other account holders, and they can export all that information to a CSV file. And it's a full date range as well, so they can find out exactly how much they've earned within any date period. And then finally at the bottom, a full history of their payouts throughout time. So really heaps of granular information there. It's all calculated month on month automatically. And when we get into the admin area, I'll discuss how that we can set different royalty rates on different accounts, and you can have specialist tiers depending on what you're offering the artist that you're working with. A couple of other things that you can do here is you can set up your own custom menu. So this My Services menu is completely custom. You can set your own links up in here so that if you want to offer other services, whether that's, or education, whatever you want, you can link to that through to external parties from there. We have a discovery mode module, and we also have a referral system, so that I'll talk about more of this in the back end, but this customer has been set up as a referrer, so they get a special referral link and they're able to invite other users to the platform, and I can be incentivized by being offered a percentage of anyone that of commission based on anyone that I refer as well, which is just another way that you can utilize the tool to generate more interest and more artists to use the service. And I'll jump into that a bit more in the back end. Finally, the real big one that again saves huge amount of time is our customer support. So if there is an issue, technical problem or a distribution issue that needs to be solved, and the artist requires help, and they'll jump in and submit a distribution query or a customer support request, that request is going to come to our team. We're going to answer that request directly with the artist. You will be on copy of those emails, and we will answer those on a custom email that we set up for you with your logo at the bottom of that email. So all of the communication is done as your brand, and we're acting as your customer support agents. And so you don't need to hire or have anyone else in your team manage that side of it and look after that customer support, because we will handle that on your behalf. And really that allows you to scale much further than would have been previously possible. And again, your customer service requirements really is building that relationship with the artist and driving better outcomes on the front side. And you let us handle all of the technical stuff so that you're not having to forward emails to us, forward emails back to you, forward emails back to the artist. So it saves a huge amount of time, and it really allows, allows you to, to scale those artists that you're working with and really drive that whole idea of having an A&R incubator and not being able to take on too much risk, but also at the same time, being able to get those artists into the system and into the platform and really try and drive some of those better outcomes. So this is the artist dashboard. What I am going to do now is I'm going to jump into the admin area and take you through a bit of a walk through that. This is our GyroStream website. Let's have a look here. So log in again. Right. This is the admin suite. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down into our settings here, and I'm going to briefly talk about some of the different payment options that can be set up when you're setting up distribution. So we offer 4 different payment types, and this is the way that you would monetize the service for the artists that you're working with. For a lot of the label A&R incubation style of thing, you would be doing likely be doing a percentage commission only as you're curating the artists that are coming through your platform. You would be taking commission in the traditional label model. But just so you're aware, we do offer a couple of different ways that you can monetize the platform. One of those is the one-off payment model, which is a little bit, say, like CD Baby, where you get charged a one-off payment per release at the end of the upload process, and then you would take a commission after that. The second is an annual subscription per release model, where you might charge $5 for a single this year and $5 next year and $5 the year after. And then lastly is the account subscription model, where it's, say, maybe like the DistroKid model these days, where you're charging an annual subscription for unlimited releases. If you do choose any of these 3 models, you connect your own Stripe and PayPal account details to the platform, and you collect 100% of that income. Or we could just run it as a traditional label model where you're taking a commission. Where it starts to get really interesting is on our user accounts. So each of your accounts or projects that you get set up will have a name, email address, and country. And what happens here is that if I was to jump into a particular account here and look at the account details, I can see the percentage rate that I have on this account. But if I need to edit the royalty rate at any time, I can change the rate, for example, hit save, and I'll change that rate. So I can actually, what happens here is that I have the ability to change the rate on any account at any time. And so if I'm using a default rate of, say, maybe 15% as my A&R incubation rate for the artists that I work with, but then an artist starts doing well and I want to start offering more services and increase that to 30%, then I can come in here and do that. And I can see an audit trail. Every time I change the royalty rate on an account, I can see an audit trail of me doing that. Where it gets really, really interesting is in our royalty overrides, is that we have the ability to actually change the royalty rate on a specific release. So once again, this would be the situation where you might have an artist that you've seen out at a gig that you started to work with, that you're providing some advice to. They're on a 15% royalty rate. but the next track is an absolute cracker and you want to do some extra label services, and you might be doing it a 50-50 deal. So you can come in here once they've uploaded the track, you can select whatever the release is, and then you've got the ability to change the royalty rate on this particular release only, and you might change that to 50%. And then that will override the rate on the customer info tab, and you have the ability to then change that rate and activate that track. So in terms of how granular you can get on an account by account basis, it really offers you a huge amount of flexibility in terms of the deal structures and the tiers that you can create in the platform as well. We have this bypass payment. So if you were charging, say, an account subscription on a yearly basis for specific artists that you're working with, you have the ability to switch off the subscription and they would bypass payments. So you might increase the royalty rate for bypass payments and offer more services, but it's really entirely up to you at that point. Once you've captured those artists into your platform, it's really up to you, how the level of service that you're going to be offering them, how much you want to offer them, how much you want to charge them. And the system is completely flexible in terms of whether that's at an account level or a release level. And you've got that full flexibility to really customize and create those tiers. We also have the option for a view-only dashboard, whereby, if you don't actually want the artist to do any uploading themselves, you might turn view-only dashboard on and you handle all of that. But they still feel like they're part of that community. They can log in, they can view their catalog, they can pay themselves, all that sort of stuff. They just don't do any of the uploading if you don't trust them to do that. Coming back to here again. When we look at an account, at the click of a button, I can actually log into this account's dashboard. I can act on their behalf. I can do uploading for them. I can access their account. So if you're a label who does want that control and needs that control, you still have it through the back end here. Each of your projects will be nicely segmented. You have the ability to log into those accounts. You can do the uploading. You can submit releases for distribution through here. You also have the ability to add a new account from the back end. So if you didn't put the registration widget in the front end, you can completely curate the artists coming through the platform. You can add a user account. Once it's been created, you can then send them the login link and they can reset their password and access their account that way. I can see the earnings on this account at any time, just through the click of a button. I can see how much balance they've got. They've still got to withdraw, and I can see the money they've earned. And I can also view all the releases through the account as well and go and have a look at those. Just touching on the referral system briefly. Like I said before, you can set up referrals accounts, so you can incentivize either your colleagues, A&R, other artists, for example, to come in and if any accounts they refer, you'll be able to set a commission that they would receive from those releases, and for a period of how many months you would like them to receive that commission. And really that, it's allowing you to sort of cast the net far and wide in terms of the number of artists that you could bring through the platform. Every month, you'll automatically calculate that referral commission from those artists and we'll put it into their account, which they can withdraw. Jumping up into our album section. So this is the distribution module. On the left-hand side, we've got incomplete down through to delivered. So you always see exactly where the releases are in that distribution pipeline. As I said before, full turnkey. So we do all the distribution for you. Once things are submitted through to pending, our team take over. We will do all of the QC. We will process things for delivery, and we'll ensure things get to where they need to on time. So it's a very hands-off experience from your team. The incomplete, obviously these haven't been submitted for distribution yet. You can view, edit, or submit these as they go through the process. Then they'll hit the pending stage into ingested and delivered. So if we come down and have a look at our delivered releases here, I'm going to jump into this one. You have access to see every delivered release or every release through the system from your admin. You'll be able to see what account the release has been submitted through, release date, UPC code, genres, where it's been delivered, where it hasn't been delivered. You can play every audio file, so you can actually listen to the audio that's coming through the system. You can download the tracks. you have access to the sharing link as well through the back end here. So you can send that around to third parties. And you have access to the smart URL that's generated for every release. So every release will get a pre-save and a smart URL that's already will rescan automatically on release day. So that's all included in part of the service. You have the ability to take down releases once they've been delivered. You have the ability to edit a release, again, like the artist can, whether or not you need to replace images or artwork or anything like that through the platform after delivery, change the release date. You can contact our support team specifically for any release on every page to have really quick access for that. Jumping down a bit further, we do video delivery for Vivo and Apple Music and adding other ones in the near future. So, we do process quite a lot of Vivo deliveries at the moment through the platform. And then further coming down into our payments area, in our artist royalties, you're going to see exactly when your artists are withdrawing. As they come and do that through the platform automatically, you'll have access to see who withdraws, when they withdraw, what currency they withdraw in, the exchange they received, and all of that information coming through the platform at any time. As we upload our royalties once a month, you'll be able to view the royalty splits. And then coming down into our royalties module, which I'm sure many of you would like to see, all of the different commissions that you have in your system, whether you've got 10, 20, 30, 50 accounts, all earning royalty commission, all different rates, all of that gets calculated automatically every month. You're going to see exactly your account balance that you can withdraw directly to your bank account every month. And then you have a full royalties dashboard here that's going to tell you your month-on-month earnings, your commissions that you've earned every month, and then a breakdown of streams, track, album downloads. You can date filter any of this as well. And then the bottom half of the screen is a full royalties dashboard account by account. So again, these could be individual accounts, artist projects that you're working on, but it's going to nicely divide it all up. So you're going to see exactly how much they earn gross, what the rate on that is, what they've earned, what you've earned in commission. You can filter each of these by an account or an artist. And then we can dive into individual artists and what account those are on, how much commission you have earned, the tracks, whether that's streaming, track downloads, or albums. Again, you'll see exactly how much commission you've earned on each individual track. Our country breakdown, our stores breakdown. So commission on each of our stores and stores by track. So obviously, say like iTunes is going to have a different top track to Spotify. And we can export all of this information to a CSV file as well. Now, this is a little bit different to our streaming analytics. So this comes in our day-by-day stuff, and we just recently upgraded this to provide a lot more services. And so we now have most of the major services in terms of the analytics here. So you're going to have really good data across your entire catalog, whether that's 10 artists, 20 artists, 100 artists, 200 artists. You're going to see exactly how much day by day, streaming activity that you've got going on. So if I date filter this, for example, back to 14 days, I'm going to see all of my streaming activity. I can filter this by each individual service if I need to, and I can come in down and I can look at my top tracks and click into each of those. I can look at my top accounts and see the performance of those day by day and filter each of those by a particular store. And then I can see my territory breakdown. And then on each of these, I can dive into individual analytics per store. So if I look at my Apple Music, for example, again, I have my top tracks and I can see my daily streams, my devices, country breakdown, playlists, subscription types, source of stream, editorial playlists. And say, let's look at Amazon for another example. Again, I've got my top tracks and listeners, device type, territories, playlists. So there's a lot of information there across all of the different services that you can access. And it's, like I said, this is quite a new streams and listeners, breakdowns, subscription type, playlists, device breakdown. So yeah, definitely, you know, as you get more and more catalog coming through your system, you definitely, you know, I can see the benefits in being able to see what type of marketing activity those artists are doing, what's having an impact, what's working, what's not working across different services and across different territories. And those insights can be really, really valuable and really come with the benefit of scale when you're working with more artists who are trying different things, trying new ideas, different pre-save strategies, and you'll be able to get all of that data into the platform as well. On the reporting side, you have access to download all of the CSV files, whether that's your accounts, track level, album level report. At any time, we have a thing called a Spotify artificial stream report every month. We get from Spotify, tells us what they've picked up to be potential bot or paid activity. And so we will also provide that report into your dashboard here so that you have transparency across that as well. On our landing page, this is where you do all your customizations for creating that page. We also have a website builder that's actually embedded into the platform. So a lot of our customers build their own sort of micro distribution site. And this is a full drag and drop website builder that you can use to be able to do that, which is pretty neat. So just jumping into our settings further down the page, you can create discount vouchers if you're charging customers to do their uploading. You can add extra staff members to the back end here, so all of your staff will have access to the catalog that's coming through. You can set up your own ISRC codes, and if you have your own ISRC registrant code, you can enter that into the platform so that it will issue your ISRC codes rather than ours every time an artist is creating a track in the system. And then finally down here in artist tools, we have a bunch of different educational resources that you can send to the artists at your discretion when they're asking you questions, whether that is, you know, one we get all the time is how do I transfer my releases to your platform? So we have a page that will explain the process in doing that so you don't have to rehash the same information multiple times. We have a release checklist that we hand out to artists that tells them what they should be doing in terms of preparation. We built our own ISRC finder for people that want to move their catalogs over. It's extremely retro looking. And so if they enter a Spotify URI here, they can get their ISRC codes and helps them with that transfer process. We offer various different digital marketing packages. So as a company, we have our own digital marketing and PR departments. So again, if people want to plug in our services, they're more than welcome to do that. Again, it's at their discretion, but we run a lot of campaigns for Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, etc. So those are available through the platform there as well. We also do some advances for catalog ingestion. We have some stuff around discovery mode, which is one of the services that we offer. So we are one of the distributors that are involved and accessible to discovery mode. And then, you know, obviously we're doing all of, you know, for premium priority artists, we're able to help on the marketing and editorial pitching side of things as well. So for any of those artists that are, you know, are starting to sort of get to that level. I'll jump back into my PowerPoint here before we jump into some questions. I've kind of shot through a lot of that very, very quickly. So there's a fair bit of information to take in, but really kind of, you know, what we're trying to do with the Distro Direct system is really democratize distribution and put it in the hands of, you know, smaller boutique companies that, you know, are on the ground, that are building those communities, that are talking to those artists, and really, you know, that are always struggling for resources, always, you know, struggling to be able to sort of service the artists that they've got, even, you know, and just with the amount of content that's coming through. So there's a lot of artists out there that, you know, are great at what they do, but, you know, need that extra help. And I think if there's plenty of music businesses out there that have the knowledge and the ability to help, but it's just a matter of resources why that gets unstuck. So a platform like this really, on the twofold allows people to really consider the whole idea of being able to run an A&R tool, but not just an A&R tool, but monetize that A&R tool as well. And not just provide the advice to those artists, but, obviously get the benefits of the upside of the artists getting the best outcomes for their streaming because they're getting advice from the right people, but the music business is able to generate and the label's able to generate an alternative revenue stream through working with those artists as well. So there's a couple of ways that you can contact us. Firstly, we have a brochure that we can send you, which is at that link, which you can read more about what we do and the product itself. We have a website where you can fill out the contact form, which is www.distro.direct. You can reach out to me personally at andy@distro.direct, and Dalmar, who is, like I said earlier, is based out of Baltimore. He is at dalmar@distro.direct. And then you can also book demos and we can go through the platform in a lot more detail at www.distrodirect/demo_NA for North America.php. And we can provide that link if you reach out to us, and we can book in further demos of the platform that way. And we can go through individual use cases. Obviously, we're trying to sort of cover off a very broad scope. What we found is every company has different use cases and different requirements and work with different artists in different communities, and everyone has a slightly different way of doing things. So I've tried to be quite broad in the explanation today. But Dalmar and I are in the States. We are heading to South by Southwest next week, and we do look forward to catching up with anyone there that would like to get more information or just have a chat about what they're doing in this space and strategy. And I'll come in here. And yeah, and really just, we would love the opportunity to be able to chat through what we're doing. It's kind of our vision for this whole idea of micro distribution and building communities. So I think Dalmar is in the chat here. And then we've also got, Michelle out of New York, which is Michelle@distro.direct. Cool. I guess we can kind of open it up to some questions, Henrik.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Andy, for taking the time today to walk through Distro Direct and to give today's presentation. Really glad to have you here. We do have a couple of Q&A questions, and folks, if we do run out of time and we can't get your questions to Andy, I'll be sure to provide them to him and the team so y'all can answer them, get an answer for them shortly. Real quick, there's one that's in the chat that I don't want to lose before we go to the Q&A section. One question from KO. Does your system have the ability to bank pre-sales and report to Billboard on a future release date?
So we don't do any reporting to Billboard at this current time. So that's up to the labels to do that at the moment.
All right, our next question comes in from Alex. Do you have support to publish Dolby Atmos music?
Yes, we can support spatial and Dolby Atmos. It's something that is done via request to our support team currently. So we do it for all of the, I guess what you would call the priority releases. It's not available as a straight upload through the system due to the file sizes and sort of special requirements on delivery. But we are doing more and more of that content, and yes, we do support it.
All right, our next question comes through from Jan. Apart from Spotify and Apple Music stats, which other platforms will artists be able to see?
So what you saw in the admin area with all of those platforms, that is rolling out to the artist platform, the artist side of the next 2 to 3 weeks.
All right, and we have a couple, folks, if you have any other questions as we're starting to wrap up, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. I think we have a couple that are better answered offline, more on the administrative side of things. One question here, where do you see the editorial option on the DSP platform? It's coming from Ivan, and maybe I may be misunderstanding the question, but
Yeah, I probably don't understand the question fully. But
we
there is an
can
option.
connect
There is an
you,
option
Ivan, with the
in the admin area. There's an option whereby you can submit for editorial consideration, which comes to our team. And so, you know, once you're onboarded with us, basically the onboarding process is that, you know, you fill out all your information. Once we actually set you up, we book in another training session. We go through all of the marketing tools. We go through all the editorial stuff that we do, and that process looks like. And a couple of things I probably need to mention is that you can run the whole platform on your own custom subdomain. So there's no mention of distro direct anywhere. We make sure that our IT team set you up with your custom domain so that it's all running off your own site. And then we take you through all of the editorial options and marketing stuff that we do alongside that.
Thank you, Andy. And in case we did not answer your question, I'll make sure to pass that along to the District Direct team to make sure we're getting exactly the answer that you're looking for. One more question that pops in from the chat last minute here. If I have distribution with another company, can you manage my data from that distributor, and can you manage publishing data as well?
It would depend on what the data looks like. We wouldn't be ingesting the data from that distributor automatically. But that's potentially a conversation that we can have separately offline. When it comes to publishing, so I guess it'd be worth to touch on a couple of things we have in the pipeline for future rollout. So we are very, very close to launching a publishing admin product, which we expect to do in the next 8 weeks. So we have partnered with Centric to provide that. We haven't really announced that publicly yet, so it's kind of the first time I'm doing that. And so we'll actually have a full publishing admin option in the artist section and also in the admin area. So we're really excited about being able to offer that to all of our customers. And that's really going to be quite a game changer for us in the white label space. And another project we're doing is redoing all of our, the way we handle smart URLs, being able to provide analytics, pre-save data, editing links, all of that stuff to be far more flexible in that space. We're doing a whole lot of other sort of third-party integrations with marketing tools over the course of this year. We're adding a recoup feature into the product so that you'll be able to automatically set up recoup amounts for any marketing expenses or other expenses that you're doing on artist accounts. That's currently being in the works. And we're constantly developing the platform based on our customer feedback. So at the moment, you know, as I said, everyone that we work with has slightly different use cases, which is great. And we're really taking on all of that feedback and building tools that people need and want.
All right, that brings us to the end of our submitted questions. Again, there's a couple of folks we'll make sure to connect with the Direct team to make sure we're getting you answers you're looking for. Again, I want to say thank you to Andy. Thank you, District Direct, for being here today. Really exciting stuff we got to take a look at. Grateful for you being part of the member community and also for presenting today. And thank you, everyone, for attending today. We're really grateful to have you here for this presentation on the webinar series. For those of us who will be joining us next week, looking forward to welcoming you to our session with Vivo. And remember that this will be posted to musicbiz.org in case there's a nugget of information you missed, or if there's a colleague you'd like to share this with. This webinar will be posted in our recordings on musicbiz.org for future consumption. Again, thank you everyone for being here today. Enjoy the rest of your day and week.
Thank you. And again, just a reminder, I'm in Austin next week, and I'd love to catch up with anyone and network and meet as many of you as possible.
Awesome. Thank you again, Andy. Everyone take care, and we will see you on the next webinar.